A few weeks ago, I was preaching on the gospel where Jesus falls asleep in the boat, and this big storm comes up, and the waves are crashing over the boat, and the disciples start getting really concerned. They're kind of upset. They don't know what to do. They're fearful of what's coming. And then all of a sudden, it's almost like they remember Jesus is in the boat. And they turn to him and they're like, "Aren't you concerned? Basically, we're going to die." And Jesus, of course, causes the storm to stop. What struck me about the story this time, as I was praying through it, and sort of what I preached on, was, when do we turn to Jesus? If you really look at the story, their first thought is not for Jesus. They're focused on other things. It's only when they don't know what else to do, when they're so overwhelmed, it's in that moment that they turn to Jesus basically as a last resort. We don't know how else to fix this, we'll turn to Jesus. And I think that happens if we're honest with ourselves in our lives all the time. That we simply live our life without really referencing our life to Jesus. And we only turn to Christ when there begins to be a problem, when we seem to be overwhelmed, when life seems to be getting the best of us. We turn to Jesus essentially as a last resort. And that's why if I'm going to be honest, why we run into so many problems. Jesus should never be our last resort. Jesus should be our first resort, and really our only resort. If we could live our life truly centered in Christ the way we should, then quite frankly, no matter what happens in our life, we wouldn't be overwhelmed. Life storms could not throw us. And that's the sign to us of where our relationship with Jesus really is at. The sign is, if life is too much for us, if we're really unsure, if we feel that deep and abiding sense of fear and uncertainty, then quite frankly, Jesus is not your first resort. You're relying too much on yourself. You're relying too much on others and on the world. And you're not relying on the only one who can make it all work. Now, making Jesus the first resort doesn't mean we're not going to run into problems. It doesn't mean we're not going to hit storms in our life and that the waves are not going to sort of start flooding our boat. It's that when Jesus is our first resort, we know it's going to be okay. We know it's going to all work out. For the simple reason that Jesus is there. And we know we can trust Him to accomplish what needs to happen. We know Jesus will give us the strength to be able to deal with whatever comes. We know Jesus will be that rock that will be able to withstand whatever happens. It's not easy. It's so easy to sort of put Jesus out of the picture until we need Him. But then life really has gotten to a deep problem. Let us seek to live our life differently. Let us seek not to leave Jesus as the last resort, but let us always seek to have Jesus as the center, the rock that we build our life on. God bless.